Happy mock draft Monday. It's officially draft week, which means I am dropping my mock draft that I did. And I'm curious to hear what you guys think about it. Welcome back to the Empire State Sports Report. I'm your host, Adrianna, also known as New York Giants fangirl. Like I said, it's mock draft Monday, guys. I'm going to talk through my draft. You let me know what you think. But first, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you're watching this on YouTube, and please share the podcast with your friends. I'm hoping to get to 5,000 YouTube subscribers by Thursday. We're cutting it close, but we can do it. So hit that subscribe button, share with all your Giants loving friends, because this week is going to be a good one. Dave Syvertson is also coming back on the podcast. I'm going to drop that before the draft, probably Wednesday, so everyone can be fully prepared for the draft. All right, let's get right into it. Everyone's going to be shocked, absolutely shocked by who I picked at 3. Edge rusher from Penn State, Abdul Carter. Obviously, it's not even a question. Listen, I like Shedeur Sanders. I would be happy if he was a Giant. I just think if you're looking at the grand scheme of things and you're looking at the board, there is no possible way that Shedeur Sanders and Abdul Carter are ranked as the same prospect. It's just not it. It's not happening. Abdul Carter is my guy. Imagine what him and some good defensive tackles could do to this defense. We brought in a good cornerback, a good safety in free agency. Let's do it. Abdul Carter or bust at 3, unless Travis Hunter is there. It's one or the other. But in every mock draft that I have done, which at this point has been like 3 or 4, Travis Hunter is off the board at 2. And it's always Abdul Carter, which, like I said, would be absolutely thrilled. Also would be happy if they got Hunter, but I just love Abdul Carter. And the thought of getting back to that rotational pass rusher where you have 3 guys who can get to the quarterback, get sacks. Oh, it's exciting. Also, I want to talk about Brian Burns for 1 second, because I was listening to the Giant Insider and Chris Bisignano talk to Brian Burns a lot last year and said that Burns was playing hurt basically throughout the whole season. He got an injury kind of early on and was dealing with it throughout the season and never once gave up, didn't take plays off. I love Burns. Like, I actually think that if I was going to get any jersey outside of Dexter Lawrence, it would probably be him. I think he stepped in right away and been a really good veteran, good leader for this team. And anyway, the reason I bring this up about Brian Burns is because I think that he's going to be a beast this year. And I also think that if you have Abdul Carter and a healthy Brian Burns and Kayvon, the options are endless. Shane Bowen, do not fuck this up. I'm begging you. Okay, next up. I picked number 35, so I did a little trade, and I moved from 34 to 35, and I picked up 2 other picks, which we can talk through later. So I picked number 35. I picked Donovan Jackson, the interior offensive lineman from Ohio State. Now, I've talked a bit about him so far. I really like Donovan Jackson because he played most of his career at guard, but when Josh Simmons, who was the left tackle for Ohio State, got injured last year, Jackson moved over to left tackle and was fine. Stepped right in, basically didn't miss a beat. Great offensive lineman. Like I said, has experience to be left tackle and guard. And the thing that I like about him is that if you want to keep Jermaine Illumin, like if God forbid Andrew Thomas goes down, which everyone like pray, make a voodoo doll. I don't know what we need to do of like the Eagles. Like, I don't know what we need to do to make sure that Andrew Thomas doesn't get hurt this year, but we got to do something. But in the worst case scenario, maybe you can keep, if you get Donovan Jackson, you can keep Illuminor at right tackle and move Jackson, or maybe he's the starter at left tackle. So I don't know. I don't love it, but it wouldn't be the worst thing ever. But anyway, I like that he has that flexibility. So if anyone wants some quick little numbers on him, let me just pull him up from my draft Bible here. Okay, offensive lineman, he's a guard, page 24. So like I said, a lot of experience at Ohio State. I also believe that he was one of those guys that was all academic. So love that. We know how Joe Shane feels about a smart player. He's a little over 6 feet, 315 pounds. He's actually projected to go to rounds 2 to 3, but I feel like where the Giants are at, they needed to go either offensive line or defensive line with that 34 pick. So I liked it. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about him. So second team All Big Ten in 2022, first team the last 2 seasons, 2023 and 2024, second team All-American in 2024, 2-time academic All Big Ten. We've talked about this, how Joe Shane really focuses on the smart aspect of these football players. It's one of the reasons why they really like John Michael Schmitz. And we have to talk about this for 1 second, because when people are like, oh, Joe Schoen's going to screw it up and whatever, I think if there's one thing that will make you feel a little bit better, two things. Number one, it's virtually impossible to mess up the 3rd overall pick. I said virtually, not entirely. Number two, we're not going to have a Kadarius Toney-like player in this building. We're not going to have a Sam Beal type player in this building. Joe Schoen goes after people who are smart, who can learn playbooks, who can switch positions without issue, who are versatile, and who can do all of these things. So that makes me feel a little bit better that there's not really going to be character issues or off the field shit with these players, which is a little bit of a thing that I like to talk about, because I think that's one of the reasons we all dislike Kadarius Toney, right? Aside from the fact that he's a god-awful rapper and didn't seem to care about football, but let's move on. Great pad level and strength at the point of attack, has power at the point of attack too. Solid drive blocker with consistent footwork and drive. Is a next level talent and does not shy away from big boy football. In pass protection, he lets the action come to him and eliminates him. Long arms and a solid base. So good pass protector, which is something that this team has struggled with. Overall, I think he's a great pick for the Giants at 34, or like I did, trade it to 35. Now, pick number 65. I picked tight end Elijah Arroyo. And I know some of you are going to be like, how dare you not pick a defensive lineman there? But this draft is so deep that I was like, and I think you're going to like my running back pick, which is next. Okay. So before you comment that, wait till you hear my running back pick. Anyway, I think Elijah Arroyo is a great prospect. He's a great weapon. He had a really great year last year at Miami. I know that we're probably not dying for a tight end between Bellinger and Theo Johnson, but Bellinger, I believe, only has 1 more year left on his contract. So it's a possibility that he might not be with the Giants moving forward. Obviously, Theo has 3 years left, so I'm not worried about him. We know how Dable loves a tight end situation. I could see them going for Elijah Arroyo here. And like I said, I just think he's a good addition. Like, this offense still needs to build up some weapons there. You can't throw Malik Neighbors the ball every single time. Like, he's going to get double teamed. He's going to need a break. And, you know, if the offensive line is struggling again and you have to use Bellinger or Theo to block, then bring in another tight end who can be a pass catcher. Okay. Like, Dable, this is his specialty, right? Let's see it with our own 2 eyes this year. All right, let's go to tight ends real quick, because I just want to pull up his size and stats, because I don't actually know how tall he is, because this is the first time I actually have ever mocked him to the Giants. He is a little over 6 feet tall, 250 pounds. He did not run the 40 times, so I don't have his speed on that. But his 2024 stats were 35 receptions for 590 yards, 16.9 yards per reception. 7 touchdowns. Impressive. So he did have a knee injury early in his collegiate career. So a little bit of a slow build in his career, but overall he's been healthy since then. 1-year starter, 2nd team all ACC in 2024. And then he has a big frame with muscular arms, good reach, athletic build, has good arm strength, ability to snag balls over his head, which the Giants draft Jalen Milroe. You better draft Elijah Arroyo, because those balls are going over every wide receiver's head that I've ever seen from Jalen Milroe. So good in a run-oriented offense, still green in his ability to really see it with running routes. So like I said, he was only a 1-year starter. So I think this guy he's a good prospect, but probably not going to be a day 1 starter. Like, the way that the Giants threw Theo Johnson into it last year, I don't see them doing that if they got someone like Arroyo. I think we'd still see Belly and Theo, and then maybe he's involved in some sort of rotation there. All right, let's talk about my running back, because I know you guys are going to like this. I hope you do. At pick number 99, I picked Cameron Skattebo, the running back from Arizona State. I know a lot of people love him. I was kind of surprised that he was still there at 99. He is projected to go rounds 2 to 3. He is 5'9", 219 pounds. He ran a 4.6, 540. His stats from last year, he had over 1,700 yards, 5.8 yards per carry, 21 touchdowns, and then also was used as a pass catcher with 45 receptions for 605 yards, 13.4 yards per reception, and 3 touchdowns. So I like his versatility. Obviously, we've seen that the Giants like to go after running backs that are capable of doing both. We saw that with Eric Gray, even though we haven't really seen a lot of him on this team. We saw it with Devin Singletary, who they brought in as a free agent. And then, of course, with Tyrone Tracy Jr., who they drafted last year. So couple things about Scatabo for those who don't know that much about him. He was a 3-year starter, Big Sky Offensive Player of the Year in 2022. His second year at Sacramento State, he transferred to Arizona State in 23, earned first team All Big 12 honors after a record-setting season. Okay, so his legs are a little bit on the shorter side, but they are thick and stocky. The guy's very muscular. Maybe not as quad heavy as Saquon, but there are few who are. Low to the ground running style, good aggressiveness through the holes, breaks tackles, and finds hidden yards every time he touches the ball. This is also something that I have complained about extensively about the running backs on this team. And I think Tyrone Tracy has been one of the players who have been better at it. Singletary, okay. But I watch other running backs like Derrick Henry. And this guy, it takes him 7 different players to get him to the ground. And just like every once in a while, I would like to see a running back who doesn't get tackled the first time someone touches him and falls to the ground. Give me someone who can break tackles. This is what I love about Scatabo. He also is a guy that has good yak yardage, which is so important. This is one of the reasons why we all love Malik Neighbors, right? Is the yak yardage. It's so important, especially from the running back position, something that we saw a little bit with Tyrone Tracy Jr. last year, something that we could see more of if the Giants bring in Scatabo. So great prospect. I really like him. I know a lot of you guys also like him. So I think he's a great option for the Giants. Now, I finally picked a defensive lineman, which I think if I'm the Giants, I don't know if I would wait to go this far down to pick him, but we'll see what they end up doing. Obviously, I am not Joe Shane, but I picked Joshua Farmer, the defensive lineman from Florida State, at pick number 105. So let's talk through him briefly. It's funny. I have heard some people are super high on him, like they love him, and other people are like, I don't want that guy anywhere near this team. So he's projected to go rounds 3 to 4. He is a little over 6 feet tall, 305 pounds. Last year, he had 32 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. And he was a 2-year starter, second team All ACC in 2023, honorable mention All ACC in 2024. Good length and well-proportioned build. Moves well laterally and gets in on tackles across the line, chases and plays to the whistle, good tackler. As a pass rusher, when the pad level is low, he's got a powerful bull rush to push the pocket. Effectively used that last year. He's also good with a swim and rip move. I can read. Rip move along with a cross chop. So some of the things that he's not great at, he's inconsistent with technique. So I think we have a lot of faith in not Shane Bowen, but some of the other defensive position coaches. So we'll see if that's something that could be improved upon if the Giants ended up going with him. Some of his other issues include anticipating and reacting to down blocks. He does lack consistency, but has good physical traits that can be worked with. And again, it comes back to the coaching. We talk about this a lot too, is that, the Giants coaching needs to actually develop these players. And if they're going to go after a defensive lineman who, in later rounds maybe needs more work to be a good starting guy, then you have to be able to have coaches who are able to get him to that level. And, the jury is still out on that. Andre Patterson obviously did numbers with Dexter Lawrence, and Dexter Lawrence always talks about, he really credits Andre Patterson for helping him. So if these are some of the issues that we see in a player like Joshua Farmer or a different defensive lineman that the Giants go after, then I hope that Patterson is going to be able to help them because they're going to need it. Okay, he's good at getting off of the snap, gets penetration on slants and gap charges. Last thing, he shoots his hands into blocks, and when he keeps them inside, can snap a blocker's head back and lock him out. So I like a player who's aggressive and tough. All right, let's move along. I finally picked a quarterback. Yeah, I don't know if you guys, some of you guys are also going to love this or hate this, but like I said, I don't love Jackson Dart, and I do like Jalen Milroe, but in no way, shape, or form am I taking him at 34 or 35. So I'm on board with getting a quarterback later. I would prefer it to be Milroe. He went too early in this mock, but I took Ohio State quarterback Will Howard. Now, I've talked about him. I told you guys that I like him. Obviously, I like him as a later round pick. I'm not picking him at 34 or God knows any earlier. So let's talk a little bit about him for those of you who don't know. Projected to go rounds 3 to 4. He's a little over 6 feet tall, 236 pounds. He ran a 4.8 40. Something that also I think has been discussed a little bit is this quarterback class. Majority of them are on the shorter end. Even Shedeur Sanders is like 6'1", 6'2". Daniel Jones and Eli Manning were 6'5". There are a lot of quarterbacks who are well over 6 feet in the NFL. One of the reasons why I don't love Kyler Murray. And it's one of the reasons I could have picked Dylan Gabriel. I didn't pick him because I'm a height snob. So, he's not that tall, but I think if he can be serviceable at the height that he's at. So last year's 2024 stats, 309 for 423 with over 4,000 yards, 73% completion rate. Very good. 35 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He also had 226 yards rushing and 7 touchdowns. 175.3 quarterback rating. We've talked about this a little bit too, because one of the wide receivers that I like is from TCU, Savion Williams. And, we heard this last year with Caleb Williams. I would never pick a player in this position from this specific school. I would never pick a TCU wide receiver. I would never pick a USC quarterback. I would never pick an Ohio State quarterback. I am not I just think you kind of have to treat every player differently because they're all different. Yes, they came from certain systems and this and that and the other, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to thrive in the NFL. They have to go to the right system in the NFL. To me, that is the number one most important thing as to whether or not a quarterback will succeed in the NFL. And I feel really bad for Cam Ward because I don't think he's going to have a good career with the Titans. So he better get the hell out of there ASAP. That's not my problem. If he falls to the Giants at 3, on the other hand, come on over. We have a better head coach, at the very least, than the Titans do. Okay, couple things to know about him. So he spent 4 seasons at Kansas State before he transferred to Ohio State last year. He was a 5-year starter, started all 4 years at Kansas State, started the full year at Ohio State. 48 career touchdown passes and 19 of them rushing. He really put himself on the radar in 2022. He led the Wildcats to a win against TCU in the Big 12 championship game. 2 seasons later, he led the Buckeyes to a national championship. Has what it takes to win, good leader, great capabilities to be able to lead a team to the championship. I know this is important for a lot of people that the quarterback has to be a winner. So he's a winner for those of you people who maybe don't love him. Great prospect at the start of the process, has a massive frame, dual threat approach, steadily improved his passing over his career, which is something else that we need to talk about because, everyone is all, Josh Allen was not very accurate when he came out of college and look at him now. And Brian Daboll helped develop that. There's also some concerns about that, with a guy like Jalen Milroe. Can Daboll help improve the accuracy? Well, if Will Howard was able to do it in college, I fully believe that someone like Daboll could be able to take it to the next level. 73% completion percentage is pretty damn good, especially in the Big Ten when you're going against some pretty difficult teams and defenses. Good at breaking tackles and avoiding sacks, something that Shedeur Sanders is not great at. So little comparison there between them. Good with the ball in his hands, but knows when to get it out. Good game manager, knows how to distribute the ball quickly and accurately. So accuracy is not as much of a problem with him as it is with some other quarterbacks. So basically, he's a safe pick to be a quality long-term backup. He's got a versatile skill set and good performance in big games within different systems. So like I said, I'm not picking this guy in the second round, but I think he's a great option for later rounds. And this is something that Joe Schoen mentioned in his presser when he talked about the quarterback specifically, is that these guys don't have, just because you pick them, it doesn't mean that they have to be your franchise starter for the next 12 years. he could also turn out to be a really good backup, and you have a good backup for 4 years on a cheap deal instead of always having to pay Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson, or, Tyrod Taylor, any of these quarterbacks who are making anywhere from $5 to $10 million or more a year as a backup. You're saving a lot of money there. So I like him there. All right, I've got 4 more picks. I'm going to breeze through these a little bit more quickly. At pick number 141, I picked Georgia linebacker Smail Mondon Jr. I saw him at the Senior Bowl. I loved this guy. I always joke that I will take any player from UGA because they somehow always transition well to the NFL. And Mondon Jr. is no exception to that rule. Would take him, like I said, saw him in the Senior Bowl, loved him. Let's pull up some quick stats on him, and then we're going to move over because I did pick a wide receiver, and I think you guys will like this one, even though he's on the smaller side. Okay, let me go to linebackers, page 49. This, I'm telling you guys, this book is like probably the greatest $36 I've ever spent my money on. It is so informative and unbelievable. He's projected to go rounds 3 to 4. He's a little bit over 6 feet tall, 224 pounds, ran a 4.58 40. 2024 stats: 57 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 3 pass breakups. He did deal a little bit with a foot injury that surfaced in 2023 and 2024, but when healthy, he has 3 down potential as a will linebacker. Couple other things to know about him. He actually started as a safety and special teams player, has that versatility. They end up moving him to linebacker and in 2022 and was an immediate starter. So good on that coach for picking that out. This is what I'm saying, you guys. UGA, their coaching is unfucking believable. Second team All SEC in 2023, was a 3-year starter at linebacker, like I said. Has good height, decent length with a slender frame, physical downhill reactor, attacks blocks at a good pad level, quick hands, plays off the ball all over the front, including reps as an overhang player, can work through blocks on the move, has excellent chase speed with sideline to sideline range. This is one of the reasons why so many of us loved Bobby O, is he's so good from sideline to sideline. Could you imagine another linebacker who could do that? I mean, also Micah McFadden, I think, is also in his last year as his contract. So, you got to bring in backups. If you're not going to keep Micah or it's a money thing, whatever, I really like this guy. I think he's a great option. All right, moving along at pick number 154, I picked Tez Johnson, wide receiver from Oregon. Tez Johnson has an amazing story. I'm not 100% sure if The Blind Side was based off of him, but if it wasn't, he also has a very similar story where he was basically adopted by this white family who really took him in and helped get him everything that he needed in order to be a good football player. And it really showed throughout his career at Oregon. It's a really heartwarming story. Maybe I'll do a video about him. If the Giants draft him, I will talk more about him and his story because it's really sweet. And the family is amazing. And it worked out so well for him. And now he's going to get drafted. He had an amazing season at Oregon last year. Okay, I'm looking for wide receivers, page 11. So I talk a little bit how I like Savion Williams. He was not there in these rounds, so I think that Tez Johnson is also a great option. Is this him? Here he is. Okay. He is 5'9". 150. He cannot be 154 pounds. Wait, I did not realize. We have to Google this. There is no way Tez Johnson is he really? Okay, his weight here is 165 pounds. So maybe he's 165. Either way, he is slight, but he is lean. He ran a 4.51 40, and his 2024 stats were 83 receptions for 898 yards, 10.8 yards per reception, 10 touchdowns. And he also was used as a punt returner. So he had 13 of them for 155 yards, averaging 11.9, and he had 1 return for a touchdown. 4-year starter, 4-time all-conference, 3 seasons at Troy before he transferred to Oregon. Immediately upon transferring to Oregon, he set a season program record with 86 catches. He went there because of his connection with Bo Nix. Oh, it was Bo Nix. I didn't realize that it was his family. Okay, I knew there was some connection. one of the players. He was adopted by their family at the age of 15 after the two became high school teammates. He's off the chart light, but he can make it work. 165 pounds is very light, but it works for him. He can hide some of his deficiencies because he has elite movement traits. Moves as if he were on skates, easily transitioning in all directions with no loss of speed or balance. Explosive mover, easy bendability, good route runner, excellent tempo and acceleration, capable of sharp, sudden breaks that are nearly unguardable. This is one of the reasons why we like Neighbors, because he can do stuff like that. So I get the vibe that he could be a bit of like a gadgety wide receiver. Also, Wan'Dale Robinson too. Are they going to sign him to a long-term deal? It would be nice to have rotation at the slot position. And I feel like Tez Johnson would be a really great option for that. Okay, my last two. Pick number 219, I picked Tonka Hemingway. And I have to be honest, guys, I really just picked him because he went to South Carolina and I am a Gamecock. So also we could use more defensive lineman depth. So, and because this is such a DL heavy draft, that's what I did focus on with these later picks. But I just kind of felt like, South Carolina, he was a good option. So let me give you a quick, when I say quick, this time I'm going to make it fast. Option. Quick notes about him. He's from South Carolina, projected to go rounds 4 to 5, a little over 6 feet tall, 284 pounds. He ran a 4.9 40. Not horrible. 2024 stats: 25 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 1 pass breakup, 6 quarterback hits, 1 forced fumble, and 1 fumble recovery for a touchdown. 3-year starter, solid rotational player for the Gamecocks, 61 games in over 5 seasons. He actually was a defensive end early on in his career before they moved him. Versatile. He's lined up in all sorts of different techniques, has a lot of experience there, usually in a 4-point stance, can get off the ball with an explosion, quick feet working in gap, has some pop with his hands, covers ground on slant moves, and can penetrate and disrupt in the backfield. So, like I said, I think he's a good option for a later round pick. Rotational player. They're going to need some depth there because I don't really think it's working out with Jordan Riley and who's the other later round defensive lineman they picked. It'll come to me. All right, last up, my final pick of the draft, 246. I picked a cornerback from Ohio State, Jordan Hancock. And I have to be honest, I don't know anything about him. So let's read just 2 sentences about him. All right, cornerback. I basically just picked a corner because you can never have too many. And I felt like at that spot, he was one of the higher ranked players there. So I kind of just went like best player available, plus the fact that a corner might be a good option for the Giants. So let's talk about Jordan Hancock. As soon as I find his thing, corner, there's 2 corners that I really like, Azariah Thomas and Quincy Riley. I just don't think that the Giants are going to be picking a corner that high. Here he is. He's projected to go around 6 to 7, a little over 6 feet tall, 195 pounds. He ran a 4.5 40. Pretty good for corner. 48 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, half a sack, 8 pass breakups, 1 quarterback hit, 2 forced fumbles, 1 interception. He was a 2-year starter and all Big Ten in 2024. Good versatility at the position, significant snaps coming in the slot and at safety. Possesses a smooth pedal to quickly gain depth, polish, scooch technique with quick feet, and solid short area burst to maintain proper leverage. Always seems to be in the right spot to make a play thanks to his smarts and instincts. That's all you needed to know about this guy, because the Giants talk so much about how they're focused on players with good instincts, who are aggressive, who can make plays, etc. So Jordan Hancock, who knows, could be a late round option for them. That is my mock, you guys. That's it. I'm not doing any more. The draft is on Thursday. We're finally going to get some answers for this team and who they pick. Let me know your mock draft picks in the comments, and what you guys thought about mine. Some of the players a little random. Some of them I thought were good choices. Sometimes it just really depends on how the board falls, and you never know what it's going to look like. So overall, I liked it. I had some good ratings on my PFF thing, so I'll take it. But I will be back with Dave Syvertson later this week, and it's draft week. I'm so excited. So I have a wedding on Saturday, so I'm going to do a recap podcast either Sunday or Monday. We'll go through all the players. I'll give you some good insight on them from this book, and we could talk more in depth about the players that they actually draft and are going to be Giants in 2025. So stay tuned for that. Like I said, make sure you subscribe, and I'll be back later this